might have a little nugget for you, because coming very soon is a improved formulation.
Oh my gosh, how can it be improved?
That was exactly what I said.
For the podcast. Welcome to a special edition of the SheerLuxe Team Podcast with me, Charlotte Collins. Today, it's a bit of a beauty special. I'm joined by SheerLuxe beauty contributor. You're so much more than just that.
Oh,
I mean, you are.
thank you. Well, thank you.
SheerLuxe contributor and beauty journal extraordinaire, Georgia Day, beauty journalist and content creator, Twiggy Jalloh, and award-winning aesthetic doctor, Wassim Taktouk.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome, everybody.
Hi.
Hello. So nice to have you. It's Monday. It's early. We're going to have to bring the energy.
It's a good
to it,
Monday.
guys.
I mean, what a way to start a Monday, frankly.
It's good, and the sun is shining, so no complaints. Yeah. We're here today to talk all things skincare. Today's podcast is sponsored by SkinCeuticals, which everyone at SheerLuxe loves for its effective anti-aging skincare. And its new serum P-Tiox, which we're going to talk all about today, has created quite the buzz recently. It promises to improve the appearance of 9 different types of contraction lines and provide a glass skin radiance. It's a science-backed formulation with visible results. So stay tuned, because we're going to be hearing all about it from you Wassim in particular, because you really understand the benefits and the science behind it and how it works. But we're going to have a chat generally about skincare and anti-aging and all things skin, basically. So I want to start with, what's your number one skincare rule? Like the one thing that you're like, you must do. Twiggy?
For me, recently, is that I have to be consistent. I think because when you're an editor, a journalist, you receive so many products all the time, and I'm testing out so many things, and I have quite sensitive or sensitized, oily, combo, acne-prone skin. So yeah, I've had to stick to the products that I use and stop using so much. So I would say that would be like my number one rule right now.
And in terms of, obviously not brands, but in terms of what works for you kind of products-wise and ingredients-wise, what have you stripped it back to? What do you stay consistent with?
Ceramides. I have to protect my barrier. Even though I have oily skin, I have stayed away from anything that makes my skin feel super moisturized. But ceramides, salicylic acid, just very, very gentle PHAs, just keeping it very simple, but I need things that keep the spots away. That is like my one thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's really good advice for people in general, because I think now we're so overwhelmed with products out there. You know, you walk into a Boots or a Sephora and it's kind of mind-blowing. So I think that's such good advice for people who are feeling overwhelmed. Kind of get to know your skin, get to know what works for you, and sort of try not to be swayed by the sort of circus of everything out there.
Is that your advice as well?
It is. I mean, yeah, and I think compliance is so important. And I think, you know, we're such a generation now where we expect results now. And I think, to Twiggy's point, like, consistency and compliance is everything. My biggest thing, and I feel like everybody sort of thinks beauty editors are the most boring people in the world, but really knowing how important an SPF in your routine is. Like, I was listening to a founder the other day, and they said if there was a cream that everybody knew could really help prevent breast cancer, you would be smothering it all over you every single day, right? SPF is honestly like one of the most important things that can help prevent not only skin cancer, but skin aging. And I think almost every sign of aging is exacerbated or caused by UV damage, right? So it's like the one thing that you can really use to control how your skin ages, which kind of, when you think about it like that, it becomes less boring and less of a trope and just something that actually you really want to do every day for the health of your skin.
Yeah. Even with dark marks and everything, like, I find that for me, like I said, I'm acne prone, very, very prone to dark marks and hyperpigmentation. So many people use so many treatments, going to get this chemical peel, going to do this, using kojic acid, so many ingredients, but then you don't actually prevent your skin from being damaged by the sun.
Yeah.
You're just literally just gonna counteract all the results that you want. So SPF, 100%.
100%. I mean, I echo that. I think if you go back to the history of SPFs, I think it was after the First World War, was UVB. That was how they initially formulated. They wanted to protect you from burning in the sun. And then sort of later down the line, UVA was also incorporated into it because we realized that it had an effect on aging. And more recently, it's more, you know, the data more recently is looking at visible light and how visible light can actually affect pigmentation in the skin. So it's important for all skin types. Fitzpatrick run through to the darker skin tones, and specifically the visible light component of it is important because it helps with blocking pigmentation.
What is visible light exactly?
So it's for the blue spectrum. So that's why you're finding a lot of SPFs now have tints.
Yeah.
And it's because it blocks that it has additional benefit.
Okay, it's all lights basically.
Yeah.
Is that also your number one skincare rule, or can I push you to come up with another one?
Oh no, yeah, I was just expanding on that.
Yes,
My skincare would be, it's a mixture of everyone's. It's a mélange. I think there is a lot of information out there, and I think people can get a bit excitable and start layering lots of things on. So I think one thing is to introduce things slowly, give them time to have an effect. 4 to 6 weeks when you introduce a treatment. So that's one important thing. Because we are seeing skins being sensitized by overuse of products, chemicals, harshness. So that's number one. And number two, actually, is that it's never too late to start. So I think that some sort of patients will come into my clinic and say, I'm a lost cause, I can't do this. And it's completely the wrong outlook to have. So it's just, there is never too late a time to start. So those are my tips.
I want to ask about anti-aging, because that's something we're going to talk about a lot over the course of this podcast. And I guess it can have a kind of bad rap outside of beauty circles, because some people say, what's wrong with aging? What's wrong with, showing that you're aging? It is obviously for kind of aesthetic reasons, but there are benefits to counteracting the signs of aging, right? It's more about that. Can you kind of elaborate?
You mean the medical benefits?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, we've just touched on one, which is, UV protection is helping against skin cancers. It's helping against sort of the different changes in the skin over time. I think that when you talk about anti-aging, everyone just sort of assumes a sort of superficiality to the person using the products, but it has much more benefits. I think it affects people's confidence as well. And, there is a sort of, it mimics somewhat in what I do. I'm an aesthetic doctor, I do injectables, and there's always this conversation around anti-aging. Are you pushing people to have treatments they shouldn't have? What are the messages that you're putting out? It's each to their own. Like no one is forcing anyone to do any treatment along the line. But if you do something that does make you feel better, and gives you confidence, like something's been niggling you for a long time, then who are we to judge those who do it? From the skincare point of view, obviously, if we could protect certain skin conditions from occurring, then yes, that is great too. So yes.
Georgia, what's your sort of approach to anti-aging in terms of skin?
I mean, I think in the last kind of decade, in terms of the skincare industry and the beauty industry, like the vernacular is definitely changing, and people are less anti-aging, as in they're against aging. I think it's just about wanting to age well and wanting to age in a way that you still feel comfortable in your skin. I mean, aging is a privilege, let's be honest. It's, with it comes a whole host of amazing things, but I personally don't want to look as knackered as I feel. Do you know what I mean? I just don't feel good about myself when my skin gives away that I've not had much sleep or like I've been eating bad food or whatever. So it's not that I want to erase every single line from my face, and it's not that I expect to have a complexion that is literally as, clear as crystal. I just want to age in a way that sort of suits my lifestyle and suits my kind of synergistically, I suppose. So, and I think the beauty industry is doing well to kind of, the language has changed so much more from anti-aging to kind of glow and health and protecting your sort of skin's integrity. And I think this whole talk about the skin barrier has shifted the conversation from sort of anti-aging to pro-skin health, which I think is an important difference. But then, anti-aging is also a very recognised term for most people. So you sort of put anti-aging on something and people know what they can sort of expect from a product. So it's kind of useful in that way. But I think at the root of it is that we all just want to age well.
Yeah, and also within my practice, it's not about necessarily wanting to look younger. It's maybe not wanting to look older than you are.
Yeah.
So someone who is in their 50s doesn't want to look 60 necessarily. They would like to look around that age group. So I think that there are things that we can do to reduce the acceleration of aging. So yeah, it's being your best self, I guess.
Yeah,
well, that makes sense. Twiggy, what's your approach?
Hydration. I just want to look like I drink a lot of water. I just want to look like I've slept very well. I want to look the way I feel inside. And just going back to acne again, acne can affect the texture of your skin. And I feel like texture just accelerates the look of aging as well. So I want to counteract that as much as possible because it's done things to my skin that's almost sped up the process just that little bit more. So I want to reduce that as much as I can. I just want to look awake.
Yeah,
I do,
that is a goal for all of us, frankly.
that is the goal. I just want to, I've had lots of sleep. Yeah, that is it for me.
Just to look well.
Exactly that.
We've obviously talked about SPF. Can products, there's a big old anti-aging market out there. Can topical products actually really work?
Yes, of course they can. Of course they can, and they're well documented. And there's been lots of research into all of them. And there are standout ingredients that I think are non-negotiables and things that we'll discuss today. And of course, there's always going to be the sort of faddy ones that come along that are spawned from TikTok dermatologists who have no medical qualifications. There's that side of things. But I think there's, the well-documented, well-researched ingredients are definitely, they have been proven. They've been clinically proven to do these things. So,
What are some of the most ridiculous tips or skincare advice you've seen on the internet?
Oh my gosh, people just squeeze it on, which I used to do before so bad. Again, with the hyperpigmentation, you do anything to get rid of it. Squeezing lemon and like rubbing it on your face. Oh my gosh, it is so bad.
That sounds so painful.
It sounds, because it is painful. But then a lot of the time you think that if something's painful or if it hurts, that it's working.
no pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain. Like you feel like it's working. And it's like, oh no. Again, the sun is going to literally burn your skin afterwards. So like, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or the
mad.
pore
Yeah,
strips.
these kind of homemade remedies. Like, wasn't there a fad for kind of smothering your face in Vaseline at one point, or castor oil or something? And it's just
greasy.
like, but like, it's just no. I just
It just doesn't work for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might work
But I
for
think
some
that goes
people.
back to what we were saying. Like, it's boring, but just like trust the clinically proven tested ingredients and give them time. Like, nothing works. Lemon juice squeezed on your face is not suddenly going to make your skin like shiny and bright and beautiful. Like, there's a reason that all of these ingredients have so much research by them, like, because they work, but you do have to give it time. You have to have patience.
Yeah.
How long do you have to invest into, like, how long does it take to see results usually?
I think, good question. I think if you sort of think about a skin cycle, so from when the skin cell starts from the bottom, makes its way to the top, I think if you anticipate that'll be anywhere from 4 weeks, let's say, to 6, give it about 6 weeks, I think is a safe amount of time before you can see if something is working for you, generally. Generally, not all, but generally.
Okay. Can I ask about treatments for anti-aging skin concerns? What have you guys tried that you found really effective?
I really love a lactic acid peel. Like, that really works well for my skin. So it's an AHA, but it's really well tolerated. It, if you find glycolic is a bit too strong or a bit too punchy for you, it's a really nice one, and it gives really good brightening, sort of smoothing, retexturizing results. So I'm a big fan of those.
And you have that as a treatment or in clinic or as
in
a nightly
clinic,
application as well?
clinic, and then there's also some topical ones that I rate as well. But that for me is like a reliable treatment that I really like.
Works, yeah. Twiggy?
Similar to you, Georgia, I found that lactic and mandelic acid, I think they did like a combination in clinic, and it really brightened my skin. It just made me look more awake. What else do I like? Microneedling. I did feel like my skin reacted very well to microneedling. But for now, I do find that peels have been enough for me. And I feel like I've enjoyed the results.
The skin looks fantastic.
It
So.
does. Can I ask you about that preventative side of injectables as well? Because that's the sort of thing that people... Can you clarify that element?
Honestly, it really, really bothers me that messaging is being put out. And I think there are certain things that you can do preventatively. So we can talk about things like incorporating antioxidants, SPF, lifestyle, diet, things like that could be to some degree rejuvenating. I think this sort of trend for early 20s, I mean, patients have come in their, 19, 20, coming in wanting neuromodulators because they're fed this sort of this line of, prejuvenation. One, I think it's absolutely unnecessary and ridiculous. Two, I think it defeats the point of why they're doing it, because a young person with a face that isn't moving very much immediately, to me, makes them look older. So youth now is in having the movement in the face. It's the expressive face. When you see someone with a glazed, motionless face, it does make you think they're older. So, there are things that, yes, should be incorporated at a younger age, but I think things like neuromodulators can absolutely stay there. You don't need to start them until you've actually got a wrinkle. So and that's going to be, sort of 30s in most cases. I mean, there's different Fitzpatrick types, some that will wrinkle earlier, but as a rule, I think that it's a bit naughty.
Your eye also adjusts, doesn't it? So if you're starting to have anti-wrinkle injections at 19, by the time you get to 35, your sort of expectation of how your face should move is ramped up a notch.
Completely.
And it's like, you're starting yourself on a path that's really difficult to sustain, actually.
Your baseline isn't what you actually would have been.
Yeah, makes sense. Any other was seen for you in particular anti-aging myths that really bother you?
Anti-aging myths.
Curious.
I know. What anti-aging myths? I mean, we talked about the SPF, I think, was an important one regarding that all skin types need to use sunblock and sun protection, including the darker Fitzpatrick skin types. I think that's always been something that's kind of thought, you don't need it because you're protecting against. So I think that's important. We talked about earlier with the UVA.
And can I just ask on that, what age should one start doing that?
Sun protection,
as
early as possible,
like your whole life almost.
I mean, it's early as possible. It's very, very well documented that the sun directly affects our skin and the aging process. I think also the importance of antioxidants, I think sometimes underreported, or sort of, there's always a new ingredient. There's always a new ingredient that everyone's getting a bit excited about. But actually, we have documented evidence of ingredients that work and work well and have been so studied in depth with clinical trials left, right, and center. So I think that is another thing that I think is underused.
Okay. I want to talk about ingredients specifically, but let's start with a bit of love for SkinCeuticals.
Oh, yes, please.
I'm here for it.
It's just such. I was going to say, it's just such a great brand, isn't it? It sounds so basic, but it is just such a good brand.
It is. Do you know, it's like I've been in the industry for 20 years, and hands down, it is the brand that I have recommended more than any other over the years to family, friends, readers, whoever. It's just, what I love about it is if you're completely new to skincare, it's a brand you can get your head around. It's got lots of options for people for different skin types, for different concerns, but it doesn't overwhelm, and it's going to really, really work. So it kind of, honestly, there isn't a person that I wouldn't recommend the brand to. And I just think what you're getting, and with skincare, that trust element is so important. You need something to be reliable, especially if you're recommending it. It's hardworking and just really reliable.
Yeah. Twiggy, you agree?
I really do love the brand. I hope my love for the brand translates through, because I remember I was working on a page, I was talking about the Fitzpatrick scale and, how different ingredients work on different skin tones and the different needs of different skin tones. And of course, I went to look for a lot of clinical studies and so on. And not a lot of brands have clinical studies or invest a lot of money into clinical studies. Went on the SkinCeuticals website, found different case studies about HA Intensify and how it, how it absorbs into the skin and so on and so forth. And the graphics were so easy to understand, super easy to understand, very, very clear information with just a lot of results. I don't know, it just made my work a lot easier, It made my work a lot easier, and it's just good for the consumer to know exactly what they're investing in, especially when you are investing a lot of money into a product. You want to know that it works, so I don't know, SkinCeuticals is just one of the brands that I know it just works and it's great.
Yeah, I think that's probably the main point to take home when it comes to a brand like SkinCeuticals is they do put a lot of money behind their clinical trials, and that is, you want a brand that is straight off the bat, anything they're going to put out there has not been put out there overnight. This is years and years of different clinical trials, data, across the world. I mean, there are trials running in different areas of the world for every product that comes through, and I think that's quite important. And also, I think that they are very good with the blending of ingredients. So, you'll see a lot of sort of vitamin C serums, whereas the vitamin C isn't great on its own, where actually if you blend it with other things, the synergistic result of that is amplified significantly. And so all of their trials blend different ingredients together. So yeah, it's honestly, for any doctor, it is the easiest brand to recommend, because for us, people look to us to know the science. And I can't recommend something that I don't know full hand has had all the data behind it. So it's a pretty easy one for me to work with.
It's obviously an investment. For people who are kind of coming in blind, haven't used the brand before, what is it that sets it so apart from other, perhaps slightly more affordable brands?
Yeah, so I think it is the clinical data and the trials behind it. That they're not a cheap exercise. So to actually do a full-blown, double-blind, all the kind of trials and data that you need to be able to interpret with no bias, it is a costly process. No one is saying that you have to go and get every item of your skincare from SkinCeuticals if it's not within your price point. And there are certain hero products that stand out that I would say, that's the one to get from SkinCeuticals, and perhaps something else you would go elsewhere. So I don't think it should be a deterrent. I think you should have confidence in what you're spending. It is going to be a skin investment. So I don't think it's a deterrent. I do understand that the price point is high, but I think that there are certain ingredients that are sort of you don't want to miss.
Have you guys got a favourite product from the brand?
I have. probably no surprise, it's one of the vitamin C serums. I love Floritin CF, which is the vitamin C for slightly oilier combination skin, but it also really helps with discoloration and dark spots and pigmentation and things like that. I do love the CE ferulic as well, but actually, as I realise, more of my kind of concerns are about clarity and hyperpigmentation and that kind of thing. I kind of tend to go more towards Floritin.
Versus what does ferulic do instead?
So ferulic is, well, Wassim will tell you.
So it's antioxidants. So they're CE ferulic, vitamin C, vitamin E, and ferulic acid, and it's a blend of the three together. So that's how C ferulic. C ferulic is kind of was the prototype of which, you know, often have been mimicked, but the formula is kept very secretive. And
it's kind of a really good all-rounder, isn't it?
Absolutely.
For anyone. Whereas I think, is it Silimarin?
Yeah.
It's better for really oilier skin.
Exactly. So two spun off the CE ferulic, which was Floritin, which was the one that was for more discolored skin, and Silimarin, which was one which was designed for more oily, blemish-prone skin. So the crux is they're based on vitamin C, slightly varying levels, but additional ingredients depending on what the concern is.
Which goes back to what you're saying about the blending of ingredients.
Yeah.
And what makes the vitamin C so much more effective is putting it with other really
Absolutely.
hardworking ingredients, which is what's so great. Because you can still understand it, but it's kind of that much more effective.
Yeah, it sounds like a more sophisticated approach. Twiggy, what about you? Any favourites?
Definitely started on C ferulic. That was my introduction to the brand. It just worked for me then and now, but now I have gone on to Silimarin just because it's a better fit for my skin. I'm not outside as much as I used to, so even though I'd still use antioxidants, because I'm indoors a lot more now, more so about like treating my skin, treating like preventing any spots or anything like that. But yeah, definitely antioxidant. I needed that going in and out of the office all the time, being bang in the middle of Oxford Circus, the buses, the cars. I needed protection, but more so now I'm definitely focused on just targeting breakouts and reducing them.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think there's been, as you said, sort of out in Oxford Street, I mean, the pollution levels in London are pretty high, and we have the threat of sort of UV and that sort of thing. So there are smokes amongst us, perhaps, but you know, living in London with the pollution, the CE ferulics and the vitamin C serums have been proven to reduce the metal in the skin. So the metal content in our skin living in a city is higher. So yeah.
Yeah, grim.
But there's so many. I mean, I love the is it the tri-lipid cream?
Triple lipid restore.
Triple lipid restore. Oh
that's
my
a
gosh,
lovely one.
That is such a
You should
beautiful
try
product.
that one for the if you're talking about
It's
skin barrier.
incredible.
What does that do?
It's stunning.
It's just really, it looks after your skin barrier, but it's really cosseting. It really kind of cushions your skin, really. So it helps restore the lipid layer of your skin. And it's just the most lovely thing to apply at night. It's just, you feel like, I mean, it's like a cashmere blanket for your skin. It's
honestly
delicious.
It's so smooth. It feels velvety but gel-like. It just combines both of the things that I like in a moisturizer. Like I said, oily skin, but I still want it to feel very moisturized and just nourished and looked after. And that does it. So yeah, another product that I like.
And a moment for the HA intensifier, please.
Oh yeah.
That's a biggie.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
love that one.
What do you love about it?
I just feel like it really, really works. And it helps increase your own production of hyaluronic acid, as well as kind of boosting the levels of hyaluronic acid in your skin. And it's just, again, it's like, it's very cushioning. It feels really sort of, and I think that's important as well. Like, let's not forget the sort of sensorial aspect of these products as well. It's not like you're, you know, in going for something really sort of high tech and really, you know, clinically backed, you've got to sacrifice texture and kind of experience. And I think that's what's so lovely about the products as well.
Yeah.
They feel really gorgeous to use.
I think with the HA intensifier, not all hyaluronic acids are equal, and so you can get a bottle of pure hyaluronic acid, but the formulation, the blend of this one is a totally different ball game. So from one side, you're topping up your levels, so you're adding high and low molecular weights of hyaluronic acid. It's got proxylane in it, which stimulates your own hyaluronic acid, but it also has purple rice and licorice extract in it, which prevents the blockdown of your own hyaluronic acid. So you're topping it up, you're stimulating it, and you're preventing it from being broken down. Now, since you're such a fan of HA Intensifier, I might have a little nugget for you, because coming very soon is a improved formulation of
Oh my
it.
gosh, how can it be improved?
That was exactly
you've
what
got your
I
note
said.
for the podcast.
No,
Dan.
I've consistently used it, so I really do wonder like how.
I have tried the new one, the texture for me feels a little bit smoother.
Okay.
You're going to love it.
Because
You're
it
going to
does.
love it.
At the moment, it's a little sticky, isn't it? Which
Exactly.
I don't mind actually.
Yeah.
But
Which I like underneath makeup personally. It almost acts as a primer.
Yeah.
But
So
this
it's
goes
less
on even
sticky.
smoother and
Yes.
right.
Yes, that's all I'll say for now. But
Exciting.
Not a smooth
Yes.
finish.
When's it out? Do you know?
very soon.
Imminently.
Imminently.
It might even be out by the time
It's in my
this is live.
pocket.
Surprise. You get it, Serum. You get it. Wassim, any other favourite products from you?
So I actually do like the triple lipid as well that you mentioned, and that was that has the cholesterol, the fatty acids, and the ceramides in it, which is sort of, if you think of bricks, it's the grout amongst it that keeps the skin nice and hydrated. I'm actually a really, really big fan of the AG Interrupter Advanced. I think it's an incredible. I like the original, but it's sort of also just been supercharged as well. And as our collagen in our skin undergoes we have sugar molecules in our skin cause glycation of collagen. So they kind of fragment them, they make them a little bit more brittle. So our collagen levels start to decline. AG Interrupter Advanced blocks that process. I know you guys like the texture of the triple lipid. Yeah. I prefer something a little bit balmier because I have really, really dry skin. So the texture for me also is excellent. So the AG Interrupter Advanced for me is a very, very nice moisturizer.
Let's talk about P-Tiox.
Oh yes, lads.
This is the new serum for the brand. I was going to try and introduce it. There's absolutely no point me doing it. Wassim, you explain P-Tiox and why it's such a fabulous new serum.
So P-Tiox is, SkinCeuticals always disrupt, and they always come up with something to be different and new. But again, like I've always said, backed by clinical science. And we've had HA intensifier, which would be something that you would complement with your dermal fillers. We have AG Interrupter Advanced, which would be a treatment that we'd use in combination with all the collagen stimulating treatments that you do. We never really had anything to complement anti-wrinkle injections. So that's where P-Tiox came in. So P-Tiox is inspired by the way in which anti-wrinkle injection works. And it's a serum that has been proven to improve the appearance of 9 different contraction lines and also give a very nice glass skin effect, which I'm sure you'll ask me to delve into soon. But yeah.
I think it's it, which I'm sure you're going to ask me to help you get.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, that too. Also that. Yes, I'm going to ask you, can you explain a bit about the science behind it?
Yeah. So if you, I think you have to go back to appreciating how anti-wrinkle injections work. So you have sort of a nerve terminal. So think of it almost like a light bulb, okay? And then think of, this is a really crap analogy. I was just thinking of it on the way here, but think of a light bulb sort of dropping drops of water onto a table. That's your nerve. The drops of water are the messenger, and the table is the muscle. So when that neurotransmitter hits the table, the muscle contracts. So that's a normal pathway of how our muscles contract. The way that anti-wrinkle injections work is they prevent that transmitter, so it prevents the water drop coming across, and also it blocks it when it does get to the table from causing it to contract. So if you take, that's how the loop of an actual muscle contraction goes. So using that sort of understanding and understanding that botulinum toxin is in itself a peptide, we found, well, not me, I wasn't in the lab, but SkinCeuticals found, I discovered it. SkinCeuticals sort of went back and studied peptides again, because peptides, although they're not new, have multiple different purposes. They're short-term amino acids, they are easily absorbed, they help with several different things. So inspired by the way the neurotoxin works, this is how P-Tiox works, and that's what we call an advanced peptide complex. Mm-hmm. But in addition to that, and of course they had to take it a step further, brilliantly so, was to create this glass skin complex. And glass skin is a relatively, newer thing. I think if you think back to the days, I remember always people wanted to have matte skin. So now people are going for the sort of this glassy, dewy, translucent, luminous skin. And so within that formulation as well, there is also a glass skin complex. And that contains 5% polyhydroxyic acid, which is a newer generation hydroxy acid. Molecules are a bit larger, so they don't penetrate as much, so it makes it a bit safe for sensitive skins. It's got 5% niacinamide, which we know and love. That's vitamin B3, and that is very good for the skin barrier, very good for redness. And it has 1% laminaria. I am coming to an end. And it has 1% laminaria extract, which comes from brown seaweed. And that has been studied quite extensively. And it's sort of got alginates in it that sort of form a film and retain moisture. So that combination of those three synergistically work to give the glass skin appearance. So you've got from one side your improving the appearance of the contraction lines, and from the other side, you're giving this kind of glass skin, smooth-like finish to the skin. What's
well
not to
done.
love? Where do I sign?
Impressive.
Oh.
Very impressive. So if it works, if it's basically doing the same as anti-wrinkle injectables, how does that work in terms of then complementing them? So it sounds like it's kind of doing the same thing. So what does that mean exactly?
So for clarity, it's not doing the same thing. So it can never be a substitute. So we were very thought this through, and there is no treatment out there, despite what is said, that will replicate an injectable. But what we do know from the peptides is that they do have an effect on muscle. And we do also know that they have effect on the skin appearance. So it complements it. So it would be the case that my patient would come in and they'd be having anti-wrinkle injections. There might be lines that I can't get to, that I don't feel comfortable putting the needle sort of a little bit close to the eye or so forth. And so it complements the effect of the toxin. So that's really where it comes in. I think there needs to be clear messaging about that. Again, why do people have anti-wrinkle injections? Because they want smoother skin. And so that's why the glass skin component of it also works. If you go back to sort of toxin and what we know about toxin, we traditionally used it to inject it deep into the muscle to stop contraction lines. And that's traditionally how we know Botox. But more recently, we're using it much more superficially. We're using it in a sort of a mesotherapy type way into the superficial layers of the skin to affect the glands, to affect and to sort of, I guess, reduce the sebum production and give this kind of nice glossy finish. So I think it's using the two ways we know the anti-wrinkle injections work on deeper and more superficial in the skin.
But it's also important
Did
to
that
say
make sense?
that made
Yeah,
it made a lot of sense.
That was so much
I'm
talk.
almost applying it to
No,
myself.
it's very
Yeah.
accessible. It's very accessible
Yeah.
talk.
So,
I think
yeah.
it's really important that.
Yeah. So are we saying that if you took a bottle of P-Tiox, you'd never have to go and see me again? Absolutely not, because I'd be out of business. No. But it complements it, and it has been shown to improve the appearance of those contraction lines, which is what we're targeting with our
But I
anti-wrinkle
think
injections.
that's what I love about this serum. It makes total sense that if you are going to spend however many hundreds of pounds on Botox, why wouldn't you then want to enhance the effects of that treatment that you've just invested in?
Protect your skin investment.
Well, this is it.
Skin
Skin
investment
investment.
again.
I'm going to be
Love
saying
it.
skin investment
But it's
from
so
now
true,
on.
isn't it? It's like it's it goes back to what you were saying about they really think about their formulations in terms of we're not just going to chuck another serum that nobody really needs. Actually, like, let's work with what we know people are having done in aesthetics, and let's give a product that is going to extend, or like you said, Wassim, it's not a replacement for your anti-wrinkle injections, but maybe if you're terrified of needles, you've never done anti-wrinkle injections before, you don't know where to start, you want to sort of test the water, this is a really nice segue into that sort of field.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have to, we should say as well, you don't have to have tried injectables in order for the product to be effective.
I think when we say P-Tiox, the first thing everyone thinks of is the tox part of it, but actually there's so much more to this formulation.
The P, it's the P.
Don't forget the P part. How do you use it?
So everyone here are antioxidant users. So that goes on first in the morning. So you'd apply your antioxidant, and then right after that, you would apply your P-Tiox. It's very hydrating, by the way. And I think, the message is not just about the wrinkles, but it is so hydrating that some of the patients have said they haven't needed to use any additional serums in addition to that. So I think that when they did the trials also, they found that the hydration levels in the skin were increased, and there was the sort of transepidermal water loss was reduced. So it has a massive hydrating benefit as well. So your antioxidant, then your P-Tiox, and then your moisturizer, and of course the SPF that we all agreed on.
Yes.
With tint.
Oh, yeah.
For the visible light.
Noted. We've talked a lot about different products and the age appropriateness of them. Is there an age at which it becomes appropriate to use it, or that it's most effective from a certain, when there are certain signs of aging?
I think it's been formulated. First, it was tested on all skin types. So Fitzpatrick 1 through 6. I mean, I think around sort of the 25 plus age group would be when you'd be starting. I think that's when people generally are starting to get concerned anyway about wrinkles. No one that should really be having any.
No.
Because they'd be using SPF.
Quite, yes. Despite what TikTok might tell you.
Yes.
You don't need
I
that
can't
much
watch
skincare
TikTok
before 25.
anymore.
Really? Have you been really turned off?
Just because of the advice that I see on there, it's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
It's absolutely bonkers that anyone would substitute that from advice from a medical professional.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's free and
Medical
easily
school of
accessible.
TikTok.
Yeah, God, it's a terrible world we live in. I want to know about skincare more generally. What do you do outside of products to make sure that you have really good skin? Twiggy, you touched on drinking a load of water. I mean,
Well, I try,
Yeah.
guys. I don't, and that's why I'm trying to seek this from the product that I use. But yeah, I do need to drink more water. But outside of that, using essences, I really love using essences. Anything that just my skin loves to drink, even though it's oily, it's quite dehydrated. So it loves to drink. It loves a serum. So it's good to hear that P-Tiox is great to use after my antioxidant, because my makeup, I want my makeup to look dewy and glowy, you know. So that, what else do I like to use? Mists when I remember. When I remember, but it does feel good on my skin. So yeah, anything, like I said, hydrating, that gives me a glow as well. Yeah.
that's what you're going for. Georgia, what about you?
What do I love? Well, I try and eat well with my skin in mind. So I'm trying to up my intake of oily fish for the omegas. I try and look after my gut health, because actually when my gut is kind of like not in the best place, I find my skin just looks awful. And obviously the gut skin axis, and we know that there's inflammation in the gut causes inflammation in the skin, and it manifests in lots of different ways on the skin. What else do I love? I use my LED mask as often as I can. I mean, for me, that's almost as much for the skin benefit as the kind of mind benefit as well, because I find it's like an enforced 10 minutes of just doing nothing,
So relaxing.
which is actually harder to come by, depressingly, than you might think.
I did see someone on TikTok say that the best way to, because obviously people always struggle to fit that into their routine, that if you do it, when you hit the snooze button in the morning, when you
Whack it on
and just sort of doze with it.
Well,
there.
it's habits. That's habit stacking,
Actually, it's a
right?
perfect
Which
time.
is
right?
Time frame,
When you're kind of a bit dozy.
I think with all of those things that you struggle to find, and it sounds ridiculous that we can't carve 10 minutes out of our day, but all of those things that you struggle to find difficult to fit in, like I'll wear mine if I go down and make coffee and feed the cats in the morning while I'm kind of hanging around for the coffee machine to do its business.
I just find it a bit bright.
Well, it is, but also that's a good way to wake up, frankly, because the caffeine doesn't start hitting for a little while, so you need something. But yeah, I try and do that. I'm really trying to incorporate more. I saw lovely Michaela Boulder not long ago, and her treatments are just amazing. And I am trying to incorporate more massage into my skincare routine, which it's never the same when you do it on yourself, let's be honest, but it does. It makes me feel alive. It makes me feel like I'm getting the blood going.
Yeah.
It just feels good.
She did Becky's face for the first time a few weeks ago and said Becky was like, it's transformative.
It
She
is.
gets in your mouth,
She
right?
does, yeah. It's incredible. And the other thing that she told me about, which actually makes so much sense, is to take your products round to the back of your neck. And also, you hold so much tension there. And for me, my jawline and the slackening of it is something that I am not okay with.
Me too.
And actually, releasing that tension there and taking your products there will actually help in the long run, kind of like give you a slightly more sculpted, defined jawline. I'm looking at you.
Yes, you must.
Anyway, that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay,
Yeah.
can't hurt, can it?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Wassim, what do you wish that everybody knew about good skincare or good skin?
That it is achievable, but you have to put the time in. You're only going to get in what you put in. The nature of what I do is I will complement them alongside in-clinic procedures. So there are so many ways that you can hit this, and I think that we know that the skin, elastin, collagen, hyaluronic acid are the trinity of things that we need going in our skin, and we know that they're going to deplete over time. We have methods, technologies, topicals that all can improve that. But also, like you said, I mean, diet, exercise, lifestyle choices are so important. I'm not going to pretend that I do all of those things, like I really don't. But that is what I would like to put out there to everyone. I don't put an SPF on every day because I'm a human being, and sometimes I forget. But these are there are pillars that we like to follow and do as much as possible.
Makes
So, yeah,
sense.
but diet, like you said, the diet is a huge thing.
I think we'll leave it there. Let's give a direct shout out to P-Tiox. Wassim, you the best person to do that. Where can you buy it?
You can buy it in clinic and on the website.
Okay.
And my clinic.
Specifically. Thank you all so much. That was such an interesting conversation. I feel like I need to go away and revamp my entire skincare routine.
I know, same.
Yeah, that was stressful, but good to learn. Thank
you
you all so much. And thank you for listening. If you have any feedback, please do email podcast@SheerLuxe.com. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.